Hi everyone, it's Natalie, and I have a couple of little friends here. This is Sven, and Einar is back. He's on my back. So I call this the rat snuggie. It's great for carrying your rats around or bonding with them. And if they're in here, they're more likely to behave and not try to run around or jump all over my stuff. Anyway, they needed some attention, so they're making the video with me. The reason I'm here is I wanted to do just like a brief update and maybe share a few things. There's Einar. Say hi. That are coming up in June. Mainly I wanted to share a really cool experience that I had Monday night with a local, like St. Louis-based organization called the St. Louis Cardslingers. It was really cool. So it's basically a group of tarot practitioners and nerds and professional readers who get together on a monthly basis, like the first Monday of the month, in order to practice their skills. And I had come across them online because I was looking for, people to share, or, to like a local group of folks to practice with. And their name came up. So I showed up. I brought, I figured out which decks I wanted to bring and work with a group. And they were there. They meet at a place called the Fortune Teller's Bar, and I'm not a person that, like, I don't go to bars because I don't drink. And I really was not sure about that part of it. I think to some degree, I don't have an alcohol abuse issue. I just want to clarify that. It's more, as a long story short, like many things in life, as a Buddhist practitioner, when I was contemplating like various things that I take in the form of, media or whatever, it just occurred to me at a certain point, like, yeah, I think maybe I don't want to drink alcohol. And that's really, really all I need to say about it. I could do a longer thing about it, but really that's the basic crux of it. It's not, my body doesn't like it very much. It doesn't work well with me, and so on. So, and then there's like the connection to, just a connection to a lot of different things that just kind of left me thinking, like, is this something I want to give energy to, overall? So there was that. But that said, it was, for a bar, it was pretty awesome. Like, I loved the environment was great. It was kind of like spooky and cool. It's a bar that was like developed, or I guess opened by a husband and wife team. And she's a tarot, basically divination specialist, and, practices energy work and so on. And her husband is like a brilliant bartender. So between them, they were like, yeah, let's just open a bar and call it the Fortune Teller's Bar. And they found a really beautiful old building that had these like natural, like, window areas that are kind of closed off, but that face the street. I don't know how, like alcoves, that are natural feature in that building, like when it was built originally. And they have like a table and a reading space up there for tarot readers and clients. And it's really cool. It's just a really cool, lots of turn of the, 18th or the 19th to the 20th century, antiques and artifacts from the spiritualist era. Really neat place. So I went there, and because there was a blues playoff, I was the only person there besides the teacher. Like nobody else showed up, and it ended up being a really good thing. The teacher was, or the person leading was great. Honest, like, really awesome practitioner. I can't remember exactly what her name was. I think it was Kristen or Krista. And she is a real, she's after Benabel Wen's heart, you know, like as a reader, you know, she's read everything. She's an astrologer. She's got all of the astrological correspondences and things that go along with the cards. Just all of it. She really knows her stuff inside and out. Like really, really inside and out. She also knows how to tell time with cards. And it's interesting because I was watching Raw Spirits, her Tarothon. Her name escapes me completely at this moment, probably because a rat's crawling all over me. But she, her like telling time with tarot video was one of the ones that I watched, like not, you know, on Sunday when I had some space for it. And I was really surprised by how fascinated I was about the whole thing. And this tarot reader also practices telling time reading the tarot, and with a really specific system that was not one of the ones that was mentioned in Raw Spirit's video. And yet, as a person who's studied astrology and numerology, for me, it was really immediate and really accessible. Like, I found that I couldn't believe how quickly it made sense. And so she made some book recommendations and things. And even though I really was not interested originally in any kind of fortune telling aspect so much of tarot, when I got home that night and I was telling Tom about it, you know, I said, you know, it's another skill. You know, it's another skill. Like as a ceramicist, his thing is throwing on the wheel. It's not hand building, right? But you learn hand building and you learn how to do glazing and how to make your own glazes and how to use different types of kiln firing and so on in pottery, because it's a skill and it's something that you might want or wish to develop or use at some point. So she kind of gave me a rundown on that, and she had never encountered with Paul Foster Case's first operation or general reading, so I could share that with her. And it was really exciting. It was really fun to sit and read, you know, for another, you know, for someone else that's not, you know, someone that I know, because right now I've really just been reading for people I know. And also to read, you know, for another tarot practitioner was a really good exercise. And her feedback was really awesome. And I was delightfully surprised. I was happy to go and just kind of put it out there and like, hey, tell me what you think. What kind of stuff do you feel like I need to work on? You know, just to put it out there, because if I'm thinking about going back to doing professional reading, those are things that are important. I want to know. I have a really strong sense of ethics where this stuff is concerned, because I don't want to wrong somebody in what I do as a practice or as a way of earning money. And people are very sensitive. Certainly when I first started with reading, I was very sensitive, and I tended to take tarot readings from other readers as gospel, you know, like, oh, this will happen. I did not exercise as much free will as I really should have in retrospect. Of course, I thought I was, but, you know, that was also my lesson to learn. So her feedback was extremely positive, and really genuine. Like she was very open to being read by me, and really excited, and asked me at one point, because I didn't tell her I was considering reading professionally, but after the second reading and spread that I did for her, she just said, wow, you know, you should really consider doing this professionally. Have you ever thought of that? So that was really nice feedback to get. You know, this is a chick that knows her. She's read everything by Mary Greer. She can tell you every little esoteric detail about the Rider-Waite Smith deck, and she knows it inside and out and front ways and back way. You know a good card slinger when you meet one, right? You know somebody who really practices and actually reads regularly for people, because you see it in the way they handle cards, in the way that they speak. It's very apparent. It's like any kind of occupation. You can tell that someone does it. But yeah, it was cool. And some of the feedback she offered was like, you're really good at being, not that I'm good at being concise here, obviously I'm not, but something I've been working on a lot with my own, my own practice of working with different spreads is like, okay, when you get them down, be really concise. What's the meaning? How do those things relate? How do they string together? And what does it create? So I kind of felt when I was reading for her like I was taking way too long, or, being way too short in reading and not maybe giving enough detail. But she didn't feel that way at all. She said that it was really clear, really immediate. She could totally see right how it related to, to her own life and purpose. And hey, that's great. That's exactly what I would want. So that was really cool. And then I had a really cool event happen on the way home, or like later that night. So I got home afterwards and felt really excited and energized and exhausted because I just spent all of Monday ripping out my front yard. Basically, it was just a giant weed-covered nightmare. I might see if I can insert a picture here when I edit, but it was bad. Anyway, 3 hours later, it was stripped bare pretty much. I've still got a lot of work to do before I can actually landscape it, but it's a lot better than it was, like a million times better than it was. But yeah, so I was energized but exhausted. Took the dog for a walk, and we walked past this like rock bed that we go past every single night. And I looked down at the rock bed and saw what I thought was probably, an adderstone or a hagstone. So I picked it up, and it was. And these guys are pretty rare to find, generally speaking. I've really not ever found one before last summer. And even then, it's kind of a specific, unique looking one that I'll show in a minute. But this was just lying there on top of the pile. It's absolutely the same type of stone and rock that's, elsewhere in that rock garden. But I'd never, it was late at night. It was not lit. And I just happened to look down, and there it was. Feels pretty significant to me, because these are not, I live in a city, when you live in the country or live in a place where you can, hagstones are very common, or they're never really common, but they're much more common in certain areas, obviously, than others because of water and geology and things like that. But that really struck me, because it's not like we're right by Lake Superior, for example, or does that make sense? I think that probably makes sense. It was significant to me, and I tend to find like, I often get, when I do something in my life that is moving me towards a goal or moving me closer to something that I'm supposed to be doing, there will be something that I find on a walk, usually a walk with my dog, and usually in a place where it wouldn't, you wouldn't expect to find it or see it. Finding a hawk's feather, for example, one day, the day I was looking for a place to live in Chicago, and I had just been on retreat and knew I wanted to ordain, and that was important to me to ordain. And so I was going to move house to be closer to the temple, because I couldn't move directly into the temple, because I have a dog, and I wasn't willing to give up my dog. And the day that I went looking for a place to move into, and actually actively took up that pursuit, as I was walking along, intending and hoping to manifest that, a giant hawk feather that I still have. It takes too much effort to get up and go get it. But, like that was on the ground, just right in front of me, perfectly formed. That's just one example. Or last summer, like while we're on Hagstones, last summer I was in Colorado on a retreat, and at Taramandala, and that was a very significant experience for all kinds of reasons. Not least of which was that I really wasn't supposed to be on the retreat that I ended up on. The one that I signed up for was canceled, and I never got the notification. And they canceled it like 6 or 8 weeks before I arrived. So they'd already issued refunds. All of it. None of that came through to me. So all of my money, all of the like, sorry, we're so sorry, but the retreat's canceled emails, all of that, none of it ever got to me. And so I planned and went and showed up, and only to find that my retreat wasn't happening. So I stayed and did the Vajrayana retreat, and the rest is history. But sorry, they have very large testicles, rats. And these aren't even the big ones. Like, that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, weird experiences. So the first day I was there, while I was trying to make up my mind whether to stay or not, because I was, I wanted a certain experience that I was hoping to have there. And it was clear that doing the retreat that was on offer was going to be a completely different experience, and it wasn't really the one I was wanting or looking for. I was walking down the road from the morning meditation, first thing in the morning, from the ridge. There's like a ridge there that's beautiful called Prayer Flag Ridge. We were sitting up there. We did our morning first meditation. It was beautiful. And on my way down, I found this rock. And it's not anything like the geology of that area, which tells me it's probably not, it was maybe rock that was hauled in from somewhere else, or taken off of one of the rivers, not far away, and brought up to pave a road or something. But it was a really unusual, beautiful rock that's clearly been formed and been in water a lot. And this was on a mountainside, where, again, this is just not the geology of the area. I should have brought rocks over that are like more like the kinds that you find in that specific area of Colorado. But but it was so striking, and it stood out. It didn't look like any of the other rocks around it. So I picked it up and took it, and it felt really sacred somehow, and it felt like a gift, and it felt like I should keep it. And so I did. I took it right back, and I put it next to my head in my tent, right where I would sleep in my tent. And then a few days later, we were doing a meditation specifically with the Karma Dakini, and it was suggested that the Karma Dakini, and it was days later, 3-4 days later, the Karma Dakini will offer you some kind of a gift, because as we worked with each of the Dakinis, they each gave us a gift, and mostly they were ethereal gifts, or they were hints, or they were things you wouldn't expect. They were. It's fascinating when you do these types of meditations, but the gift that the Karma Dakini gave me was this stone, and so that was really even more significant. She picked it up and handed it to me. And I was really shocked that was the gift, because she was the last Dakini in that series, she's the final one. And I just it was just not anything I was expecting to hear or see, or get, because it was nothing like any of the other gifts from the other Dakinis. So it took on even more, personal significance after that. That this was it was the only gift of all of them that was actually like something in real life, that was anyway. I think that makes sense. So yeah, so this one felt like, hey, this is this is meant for you. It's significant. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. Really cool experience. it's got me thinking. I mean, a lot of the cards that came up in that reading, in the reading that the other woman did for me were, a lot of them related to meditation. It was really funny because in one of the spreads, she was like, it's so funny. She was like, so many of the cards in your spread relate to like contemplation and meditation. I don't normally see that. And I just laughed because I said, yeah, I mean, they would, because I'm a meditator, and looking at starting a business that is largely about contemplative work, including being, an end-of-life doula. And a lot of the advice that I was given was, that was in the cards was, don't do so much, spend more of your time being. The wands were very, for the largest part in a lot of the reading, were really absent. It was mostly like cups and pentacles. A lot of it was very powerfully related to, or where there were wand cards, they were for her. The significance was spiritual work. Again, not physical activity work, but spiritual work. In the form of, of be still and meditate. So, yeah, that makes sense. And yet it's very hard for me to stop and do that when I know I need to get my websites finished and get them up, and start networking and all of that. But it may be that what I'm really needing to do before all of that takes place is to sit and be still and meditate and get back into that space so that the creation of them is that much smoother and simpler and, calmer. And who knows what kinds of insights will come from doing that, So there's that as well. And finally, before I go, I just wanted to share this crystal. I've had this crystal for years and years and years, and I cannot remember where it came from. I feel like it came from, a crystal point haul that I made at some point in my early 20s, maybe. But it's been sitting on my altar, and because of that, I do some eye open meditation, and I've really just been aware of its unique shape. I don't know if this is window quartz. I know I've heard of window quartz, but so here's the tip of this crystal point, and then it's got these two triangles either side, of this point, and then, this interesting triangle here. And I don't know, I was inspired last night to sleep with it. So I did. Took it to bed and slept with it. But I don't know, such an unusual formation for a crystal. I don't know how well that's going to come across on camera. But the shape is so unique and so almost perfectly symmetrical. And I don't know, there's something wonderful about rediscovering something that you've had for a long time and you see every day, and then seeing it with fresh eyes, in a way that you've never seen it before. It's a very unique experience. It's a wonderful experience. So I thought I would share that as well. All right. I guess I'll do June another day. There's not a lot to tell, but probably enough that I should split it up into more than one video. So maybe I'll finish this and then just do the June one. All right, folks. Thank you for watching, and thank you for sharing the journey with me, and thank you for your practice. This is a really special community, and I'm really grateful to be part of it. So thank you. All right. See you soon.